The Korvati Empire had never known defeat. For 3 centuries, their warriors had conquered 17 star systems, their elite Talon Guard crushing resistance with methodical precision. When they encountered humanity's outlying colony on Verdana 7, they expected another swift victory. They were wrong. Vesa stood in the command center of the human settlement, watching the holographic display with tired eyes. The battle had lasted 6 days. 6 days of humanity's ragtag militia holding off the galaxy's most feared military force. The Korvathi had sent wave after wave of their Talon Guard, warriors bred from birth for combat, standing 3 meters tall, with natural armor plating and reflexes that made them blur across battlefields. "Ma'am, another pod incoming," her communications officer called out. "It's small, single-occupant signature." Vesa frowned. The Korvati didn't send scouts alone. She moved to the observation deck, her hand instinctively going to her sidearm. Through the reinforced windows, she watched a small shuttle descend, landing just outside the perimeter fence. No weapons fired, no troops deployed. The hatch opened. A child emerged. Not a human child, a Korvathi cub, barely reaching 1 meter in height. The young one's scales were still soft, pale blue instead of the deep obsidian of adult warriors. In its small claws, it carried something wrapped in ceremonial cloth. "Hold fire," Vesa ordered, her voice sharp as her soldiers took aim. "Nobody shoots." She walked out alone to meet the cub, her boots crunching on the scorched earth. The small Korvathi waited, its large eyes, still round with youth, not yet hardened into the predatory slits of adults, watching her approach. "I am Ren," the cub said in halting galactic standard, its translator struggling with the young voice. "I bring message from Talon Commander Jask." The cub extended the bundle with both hands, performing what Vesa recognized as a formal presentation gesture from Korvathi culture. She took it carefully, unwrapping the cloth. Inside were helmets. Not full-sized warrior helmets, but tiny ones, clearly made for cubs. There were dozens of them, each one scratched and dented with small claw marks. Training helmets. Vesa looked up, confused. Ren's eyes glistened with something she'd never expected to see in a Korvathi. Sorrow. "The Talon Guard you faced," Ren began, its voice wavering, "were training cadre, teachers, the finest warriors of our empire. Yes, but their purpose was not conquest. Their purpose was to raise the next generation." The cub's small claws trembled. "These helmets belonged to their students. Cubs like me. Cubs who now have no teachers to return to." Vesa felt ice spread through her chest. She looked down at the tiny helmets again, seeing them differently now. Each scratch, each dent, marks from training sessions. Play fighting, learning. 347 instructors, Ren continued, each one responsible for teaching 10 to 15 cubs. They were sent here because your colony was supposed to be. The cub paused, searching for words. Practice. Easy. First conquest. To prove to the council that active warriors could still teach better than simulation. Practice, Vesa repeated, her voice hollow. They'd been killing teachers. The Empire's best warriors, yes, but warriors whose students were waiting for them to come home. Commander Jask sends these helmets, Ren said, straightening despite the tears now flowing freely down its scaled cheeks. Because he says humans should understand cost. Not just Korvathi cost, all cost. The cub's voice grew stronger. He says any species that can make the Talon Guard fall must be species that understands war is not glory. War is empty helmets, empty training grounds, cubs who wait for teachers who will never return. Vesa knelt down, bringing herself to the cub's eye level. Ren, we didn't know. We thought... You thought you fought conquerors, Ren interrupted. You did, but even conquerors are fathers, mothers, teachers. The cub looked at the helmets between them. Commander Jask says to tell you, Empire withdraws, not because humans too strong, because humans make Empire remember what it forgot, that every warrior who falls is person who will not return home. That glory is word Empire uses, so cubs like me will think losing teachers is noble sacrifice instead of tragedy. The young Korvathi reached out and touched one of the helmets gently. This one was my instructor's primary student. She was going to graduate next season. She waited every day by landing platform. When news came, Ren's voice broke. She stopped speaking, just sits with her helmet, scratching new marks into it, counting days teacher is gone. Vesa picked up one of the helmets. It was so small, designed for a child's head. Inside, she could see a name etched carefully in Korvathi script, written by a teacher's claw, making sure their student's helmet wouldn't be confused with others. "What does Commander Zask want from us?" Vesa asked quietly. "Truth," Ren replied. "He wants you to take image of these helmets. Send to your leaders, send to Galaxy. Show everyone that humanity's first victory over Korvathi Empire was not one against monsters, was one against people. He says maybe if both sides see this truth, next time there is choice between talking and fighting, choice becomes easier." The cub turned back toward the shuttle, then paused. "He also says he respects you, human defenders, says you fought with honor, says you gave our warriors proper death. Quick, clean, when you could have made them suffer." Ren's translator caught, emotion overwhelming the device. Says this is why he sends cub instead of warrior, because cubs represent hope, and he hopes you will choose peace. As the shuttle lifted off, carrying Ren back to the Korvati fleet, Vesa stood surrounded by tiny helmets. Her soldiers emerged from the compound, gathering around silently. One by one, they knelt, each picking up a helmet, understanding what they meant. "Send this image everywhere," Vesa said softly. "Every news channel, every military academy, every government office in human space, and transmit it to the Korvati fleet with a message. We hear you, we understand, and we choose to talk." The next day, representatives from both species met in the settlement's cafeteria. Not a war room, not a formal chamber, but a simple place where people ate meals and shared stories. They talked for 3 weeks straight. They argued, they wept, they shared images of their homes and families. When the Korvathi fleet finally departed, it was not in retreat, but in respectful withdrawal. Vesa stood again on the observation deck, watching them go. In her hands, she held a single tiny helmet, the one Ren had touched, the one belonging to the cub who stopped speaking. A year later, a package arrived from the Korvati homeworld. Inside was a new helmet, full-sized and gleaming. Attached was a message. She spoke again. She trains again. Teacher would be proud. Thank you for giving her future back. Humanity had won its first war against the Korvathi Empire. But more importantly, both species had learned that the greatest victory wasn't in defeating enemies. It was in making sure there never needed to be enemies at all. The tiny helmets remained in Verdana 7's Memorial Hall, a reminder that warriors, no matter how elite, were still people. And people, no matter how different, could always choose understanding over destruction.